By deeply listening, we are helping fulfill a universal human need in everyone to be genuinely heard. And that's not simply about having your speaker's words reach your eardrums, but so they feel that their reality is recognized and their dignity affirmed.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Michael Kovnat, and this is the Next Big Idea Daily, where we unpack the best new nonfiction, one big idea at a time. So, you know that feeling when someone's really listening to you, not just nodding while waiting to talk, but actually tuning in? It's rare. In our noisy, fast-talking world, real listening has become a lost art. Emily Kasriel, a former BBC journalist and executive coach, wants to change that. In her new book, Deep Listening, Transform Your Relationships with Family, Friends, and Foes, Emily explores how we can tune out the noise and truly tune into each other at work, at home, and across divides. Here's Emily.
In our hyper-connected world, we've forgotten how to truly listen. When we listen in a standard way, we're preloading our verbal gun with ammunition ready to fire with our own ideas. We treat the speaker as a resource to extract value from them, and we are blind to what's not being expressed in words. We interrupt, destroying their thinking, or jump in with our own solutions, or to cheer them up. Perhaps to tell them about a similar challenge we've faced. Our speaker is left feeling ignored, used, or dismissed. I've evolved an approach, deep listening, which encourages a far more profound way to engage. Research in my deep listening approach in a peer-reviewed journal with 1,000 people in over 100 countries demonstrates that practicing deep listening enables people to feel safer to express themselves, more connected, and they become more open to changing their own attitudes. Below, I share 5 key insights from my new book, Deep Listening, Transform Your Relationship with Family, Friends, and Foes. Create space. Begin by finding or creating a place of safety for your speaker. Your ambition to signal respect, so your speaker feels welcome to voice ideas or concerns that they may have never shared with you before. You want them to feel cherished and inspired to explore new ideas. This begins with the physical environment. Avoid rooms which are surrounded with glass or metal, and that creates bad echoes. Instead, seek spaces if you can with a bit of wood or fabric. Use warmer-coloured diffused lighting, for example a wall light, instead of a harsh overhead blue-white light, the kind you see in a hospital. For challenging conversations, go for a walk in a neutral space to encourage a sense of ease. Even better, find somewhere with trees or plants. Research shows us that the natural world calms us and encourages us to see the bigger picture. Consider how you can create a safe psychological space for your speaker. Perhaps you might express some vulnerability. Choose to listen before you speak, unless that is, you're habitually silenced in this relationship. You might need to contract to cultivate trust in a professional context. You can clarify your intentions up front. It's about the type of conversation you're having and, for example, its duration. And what will happen with any information that your speaker shares. When you deeply listen, your speaker tends to share more, so you need to be confidential about how you treat that information. Listen to yourself first. You can't be open to listen to others until you've truly listened to yourself. If you haven't taken the time to do this, you might find that you're closed off from what the person wants to communicate with you. Your inner biases, anxieties, the need to prove yourself right, or your urge to problem solve can hijack an encounter. Difficult memories, prejudices, or an unacknowledged agenda can rear their heads. So, before engaging, take a pause. We all have shadows, these unacceptable parts of ourselves, which feel young and vulnerable. These shadows aren't obviously obvious to us, so we sense them indirectly in what we think are the loathsome traits and actions of others. Have you ever felt uncomfortable trying to listen to an authoritative colleague? Perhaps they remind you of your bullying older brother? How do you know when your shadows are pulling the strings? When you judge what you're hearing in a very black and white way, with you 100% in the right and the other person blatantly wrong. Can you acknowledge your family of shadows? As an executive coach, I've learned that self-awareness is the foundation of listening and leading well. Give yourself the space to begin to accept these shadows. The ambition is to get to a stage where you can witness or even dance with the shadows rather than denying them or trying to annihilate them. Through self-reflection, you can begin to forge a more positive relationship with your family of shadows, so they no longer disrupt your most important encounters. So you're ready to enter a state where you can truly listen to your speaker. Be curious. So often we enter a conversation assuming we already know what the speaker is going to say. It's easy to stop listening after a few opening words. We only pay attention to the gist of what we're hearing. As your speaker is figuring out your intentions, you need to swiftly convey your prime motivation to understand them better. You acknowledge by curiosity that your speaker's perspective is different from yours, and you do not already understand it, and you cannot infer it. You need instead to encounter their world with its own tastes and flavors. Your curiosity sends a message to your speaker. They're worthy of your time and attention. You validate them as a person without necessarily validating their ideas. And what you come to learn when you stay curious allows you to begin to develop empathy for your speaker. You try to imagine what the world looks like from their perspective. You might want to ask, what in your experience has led you to have these beliefs or these ideas? If you want to communicate empathy through sharing your own similar experience, reconsider. Telling your own story moves the spotlight to you, and it takes it away from them. If you really understand them, based on your own experience, I believe that your empathy will exude from every pore of your body, and they'll feel it without words. See if you can then cultivate respect. And this respect, to remind you, is for their humanity and their uniqueness, rather than anything that your speaker has said or done. It's also important when you deeply listen to stay safe. You can acknowledge that these are your speaker's emotions, not yours. Empathy does not need to mean that you suffer with them. Hold the silence. Silence in conversations has a bad reputation. Many people perceive silence as a tactic to intimidate or get someone to talk or concede, especially in negotiations. Silence makes many of us profoundly uncomfortable. We rush to fill it. We see it as awkward, unproductive, or even threatening. This discomfort reveals how deeply our culture conditions us to equate communication with speech rather than with receptive listening. But actually, silence, A warm, inviting, and empowering silence can encourage reflection, so our conversation partner can become less defensive and more creative. Recent research has demonstrated many more win-win outcomes in negotiations when both parties were invited to be silent after the other spoke, rather than zero-sum outcomes. If I win, you lose. Silence can give speakers the opportunity to reflect, gain clarity, and then the courage to go deeper, and allows you, the listener, the chance to make meaning from what you've just heard. Silence takes you to a place where you can both begin to trust each other. And it's not about relinquishing control when you're silent, but allowing a richer contribution to surface. And in a work context, this can inform you to make better decisions and to create a more strong, robust vision. The invitation: try sprinkling bits of silence, even a few seconds in conversation. Notice what emerges: new thoughts, ideas, meanings, or connections. And it's especially important to use silence if you have more power in a relationship. Reflect back. After your speaker has spoken and you've left some silence, you need to reflect back the very core of what you've understood. You're checking with them. And this is not just their words, but the notes between the words and their emotions, whether or not they've expressed them explicitly. Reflecting back in this context isn't about parroting like you might have learned in an active listening course. It's showing that you value the real meaning of their story and checking with them that you've understood to encourage them to clarify and go deeper. Stay away, at least temporarily, from your own questions, which takes the speaker down the path you want to go, and instead simply reflect back what you've just heard, or give a meta-reflection of what you've heard so far in the conversation, whether it's all making the same point, so what they've said is in harmony, or whether you've heard contradictions. The one question you can ask is "Tell me more," which allows your speaker to define what more is and go deeper. And sometimes our instincts can be more insightful than our conscious intelligence. So when you're listening, try to use your own reactions, even physical ones, to help sense what's really going on here. You might choose to use your third ear. That's a term coined by Theodor Reich. He was a pupil of Sigmund Freud. And the third ear, which I think of as placed next to my heart, allows you to sense what's unspoken but important, lying in your speaker's unconscious perhaps. You can look into yourself and notice your own reactions, which might give you clues to what's really at stake for your speaker. It might feel uncomfortable to reflect what's really going on, the real message that they are trying but not quite conveying. It's easier to stay at a superficial level, but listening with your third ear can be transformative. Let me give you an example. You might ask a member of your team to take on an additional task. They respond, "Sure, I'll see if I can make that work." Their mouth is smiling, but not their eyes. Their words are positive, but their tone is non-committal. Instead, you can reply, tentatively, "I'm getting a sense that you're already overloaded and probably can't do this, but perhaps you don't feel comfortable saying no directly. Is that right?" They can correct or clarify. You've gone off script and you're now having a genuine conversation. You understand them better and you both feel more connected. In a work context, deep listening isn't about absorbing information passively. You're actually co-creating your speaker's narrative by the way you listen. And it isn't about relinquishing leadership. Instead, it's about collaborating, truly collaborating with your speaker, so you can co-create this meaning together. By deeply listening, we are helping fulfill a universal human need in everyone, to be genuinely heard. And that's not simply about having your speaker's words reach your eardrums, but so they feel that their reality is recognized and their dignity affirmed. When we are truly listened to, we are seen as individuals, unique, irreplaceable, and worthy of respect. Now that's powerful.
Thank you, Emily. All right, everyone, you can get a copy of Deep Listening at your favorite bookstore or using the link in the episode notes. And don't forget to go to nextbigideaclub.com to find out about our hardback subscription club, where we send you the best new nonfiction books as selected by our curators Malcolm Gladwell, Adam Grant, Susan Cain, and Daniel Pink. You can check that out at nextbigideaclub.com. I'm Michael Kovnat. See you tomorrow.